notice me. I'm staying under the radar. Incognito.
Hi, all. Welcome to Mindforked. How you guys doing? Here's third episode of Mindforked. I cannot believe I have a third episode, you guys. 3 episodes. This is so awesome. And the fact that this episode is so badass is so much fun. All of them have been great. Hopefully, I won't have like huge Wi-Fi issues, so we're gonna keep rolling with that. But I'm just so happy to be here, and I have some super awesome guests today, and some surprise guests that you don't even know about. Just wait till you find out. But first of all, we got my BUFON sisters going to be joining us, Lynn Hurley, and the wonderful, the one and only Paul Hynek is going to be joining us here in a minute. But before we do that, I want to say hi to live chat chatters. So let's see who we have in the house today. Comments. I'm going to start from the beginning. I see a bunch of names unidentified as 4. Hi, honey. I'm so glad you're here. And Walt Corbin is in the house. My husband, Stuart. Hi, honey. How are you? Of course, he's sitting outside. So, hi. David Martin. How you doing? Oliviero is so super cool. I'll update you guys on some of the stuff that he's doing with some of our streams, but he's really getting our streams out there, and it's totally worth mentioning because it is so awesome. Our stuff's like being seen in Italy. Oh my God, Juan Falcon. Juan Falcon is my friend from high school. Hi, Juan. I'm so glad you're here. Now I'm super nervous because Juan Falcon's in the house. Anyway, we've known each other since we were like 5. Hey, Juan. Chad Smith podcast in the house. He's always so supportive. And let's see. Lovely, lovely, lovely Dorothy Hawkins, the voice of reason in a crazy world. Donovan Davis. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Helen Crystal Energy's here. Angels Are Life. Oh my God, we have a full house. So I am going to go ahead and get us rolling by bringing in my BUFON sister, my partner, the commander, Lynn Hurley's in the house. Hey, and we're both wearing our BUFON shirts.
Yes.
BUFON shirts. So I am so excited that you're here with me because we're here to welcome this very, very special guest. I cannot believe that I get to have him on the show. So we're going to talk about all your stuff and things you're doing because you're doing some amazing shows, and I want to make sure we cover all that. So we got so much going on, so we're going to get going. So without further ado, chat, are you guys ready? Hey, Helen Crystal Energy just joined. Without further ado, let's put our hands together. Hold on, got a special little for the one, the only. Paul Hynek! There. Got cheering crowd for you, Paul Hynek. How are you?
Yeah, I have a little thing on my phone. Whenever I walk into a new room, it just plays that sound.
Exactly. I noticed my StreamYard just did that on its own. It's very, very crazy. Yeah. So I am so glad that you're here. Paul Hynek, for everybody that does not know him, Paul Hynek has, so many things he works on. I was starting to make notes on every topic that I could possibly talk to you about today. Obviously, you're Hynek, so we're going to talk about J. Allen Hynek. This is J. Allen Hynek's son, and we're just so happy to have him here. He's also finance, fighting age, the things that you're doing and a lot of your research in UFOs. And I just want to get into all of it. So we have a very excited chat fam just dying to talk to you. So what I kind of wanted to start with is, first of all, how are you, Paul? Let's do
Jim Dandy. Thank you.
Jim Dandy. Paul and Lynn and I were happy. I mean, Lynn, you've met Paul before, but I hadn't. So when we met in Vernal, we had such a great time. And we have a joint love, or we also do a wedding officiating. Right, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
You've done 3 I've done one. If you wanted to officiate a wedding at a pool of healing water with, potentially pythons, call me. If you want a bigger venue, you can call Paul. And that is how our introduction basically went.
Did you say potentially pythons? I don't remember that part.
Just wait.
Is that like
You're gonna hear
Monty
some,
Python or snakes?
not Monty Python, like snakes. Yeah,
New
you'll see.
development.
Oh,
We got some stories to tell you, Paul Hynek.
I mean,
So,
all I did was impersonate or do an impression of the wedding guy in Princess Bride, who had that very unique speech pattern. But there were no pythons of any kind
Mowage.
in the wings.
Mowage.
Wings out together today.
All I remember is you and me dancing in front of Dwayne's girlfriend. And she was laughing so hard. She was like, "What's happening?" I was like, "Yeah, we are wedding officiants." This
Yeah,
way.
she'd
I'm
never-
trying to figure out how to go.
She'd never seen the super stylistic white boy overbite.
Yeah,
Just
so
floored by that.
yeah. There's so much that happened when we were in Vernal. The fact that I was laughing about the guy in the corner that was under the lights, and I even said laughingly, I said, "Oh my God, Paul Hynek's laying there. I bet you it's Paul Hynek. Let's go wake that guy up." And it was Paul Hynek, and I was kidding, but it was true. But that brought us so much closer together. So I'm going to take that as a win. So, Paul, so while we were in Vernal, I would really love to hear a little bit about your background. Obviously, growing up the son of J. Allen Hynek has to be just, I can't even imagine what that was like. And seeing the struggles that he went through, and, how did that change your life? I know that in Vernal you shared a little bit about the history of growing up Hynek. We'd love to hear a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Sure. I think however you grow up seems normal to you at the time until the benefit of hindsight and you realize, oh, this was good, that was weird, or whatever. So, with that said, I don't know a life without UFOs. There were flying saucer Christmas ornaments on the Christmas tree, conversations all the time. So to me, it's not like something that I had to make effort to learn about or had to get prepared, psyched up for it. It was just Tuesday night. So, but I guess the main sort of foundation is that my father wasn't really a UFO guy in his mind. He was a scientist, an astrophysicist who had a side hustle later in life with UFOs, which was just one sort of thread he just kept pulling on for quite some time. So all my four siblings and I were sort of inculcated in sort of a healthily skeptical but eternally curious scientific method mindset.
So, and out of the entire family, if I understand it correctly, you were probably the one that was at least involved with more, the astrophysics and, the UFOs than anybody else. I mean, did you go down the financial, more of the business route for a particular reason versus kind of the family?
Well, none of us were really actively involved in UFOs. It was always just there for us. My sister is a nurse midwife and an artist, and my brothers are all engineers, which I like to say are poor man's physicists. I was a French major, and I sort of restored honor to the family name, I think. Not sure my dad saw it that way, but so I'm not really a finance guy. I do that because people think I know how to do it. So now I teach it. But I'm an entrepreneur, tech guy, and wind up in cool projects that have finance. So the real value I can bring to the table is understanding the tech, where it wants to go, and then helping sort of articulate that in the business model, and then talking to investors, et cetera. So that last mile. I saw with my father, the Center for UFO Studies, nonprofits, there's always a fundraising challenge. And I just didn't want sort of lack of financial sophistication to hold me back from the things I wanted to pursue. So that's, I'm CFO by day, but UFOs by night.
So you're involved in multiple, you're like, and Lynn, please jump in whenever whatever you like, but you're involved in many different types of projects. What, kind of where is your focus right now? Where are you kind of headed?
Well, and Lynn has already jumped in an indirect way with her mind control. So half the things I'm saying, I really don't know where they're coming from.
It's really Lynn. I'm really interviewing Lynn. I didn't know.
Yeah. You might see the Gossamer Thin puppet strings back here.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in a lot of things. AI, you mentioned life extension, space, virtual reality, metaverse, and one of my biggest passions now is crypto, and sort of the root foundations of cryptography. And I'm helping a good friend of mine who is one of the pioneers of cryptocurrency and cryptography with real base layer fundamentals about individual empowerment before you get to the layer of currency and finance. So one implementation of this is with voting, to have secure elections that nobody can challenge, and also to help sort of certify news media to try to take a swing at the fake news problem. And then another pillar of that is cryptocurrency, and it's all built around the ethos of decentralization. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat in the U.S. Not many people who feel that the government represents their interests. And with both UFO and cryptocurrency, the U.S. government is sort of a centralized bad actor who has a lot of secrets, and we don't know what they're going to say or do. And I'm just sick and tired of that. I don't care what they say about UFOs anymore. And the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin trains have left the station, and there's not much they can do about those either. And it's time for us individuals to band together and go ahead and conduct business and get to the bottom of the UFO phenomena ourselves.
Paul, can I ask you a quick question? So the World Economic Forum was talking about using blockchain and monitoring digital currency. What do you see? Do you see that going anywhere? I mean, because the whole point of like cryptocurrency, from my understanding, is that it was decentralized. So it couldn't they couldn't like tax the heck out of every single transaction that you make.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Lynn. And that's of a piece with governments doing central bank digital currencies. I think that's all a bunch of bullshit. I mean, the US dollar is a failing fiat currency that's being debased by inflation because there's nothing that backs the dollar. The US government backs the concept of the dollar, but not the value of the individual dollar. So if the US government does a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, it's just a digital dollar, and it's also nigh unto worthless, just like the dollar. The World Economic Forum and other large centralized entities, however well-meaning they may be, are centralized entities like you're getting at, and just not of use or of interest to anybody that takes crypto seriously.
So I have a question now that I'm hearing, looking at your journey and how you've gotten there. So how much of your crypto do you think, as far as the things that you were talking about, the centralization, the fact that you don't want, that we should get that control back, how much of it do you credit it back to Jay Allen in your early days and the things that he saw from a UFO perspective?
A lot, my whole life. And you mentioned this, my dad got jerked around by the Air Force, by competing governmental agencies, whether it's the Air Intelligence Service Squadron or the Robertson Panel or Men in Black, thwarting what he was trying to do. And then you had Project Blue Book, where he worked, which was not a serious scientific effort at all. It was a mock exercise to sort of tamp down public hysteria. And we all know the government has secrets. I don't know if the government has alien bodies and has reverse engineered propulsion systems. If they had, I think they'd be speaking English in Beijing by now, but they've got something. And so I saw my father frustrated time and time again by a capricious, arbitrary, non-monolithic government acting at cross purposes with what we would think the public interest would be. And I didn't sort of articulate it to myself at the time, but it was a bad faith centralized actor. And so it sort of predisposed me to resonate with the fundamental spirit of cryptocurrency of decentralization. So yeah, you're exactly right.
So it kind of defined in everything we learn when we're little, it's like you grew up with it from the beginning. You probably can't even remember a day where UFOs weren't part of the game, right? I mean, UFOs have been in your life it's been around your entire life as part of your daily life. So
yeah, and the first word I ever said was moon, which made my astronomer father very happy. And I think it's kind of downhill after that. I think I peaked early. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Tell me that wasn't meant to be, man. You were meant to say that. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about your early life as well, and one we don't talk about enough, is your mother. And it's like how you dealing with all this, you seeing your father dealing with all this and the struggles and the challenges. He was trying to help, right? He thinks he signed up for a project that's one thing, it turns out to be something, something different. It changed his life. How about hers? What was life like for her?
Yeah, my father and mother met in Ohio when my father was giving a tour of an observatory. And I don't know what happened, what looks were exchanged, but a few weeks later, my father sent her a letter inviting her to meet him in a hotel in the lobby of a neighboring town, not where he taught and she was a student, because that would be fairly scandalous.
Very scandalous.
Yeah, right. He's a divorcee and she's a co-ed. And, you read that letter and it's kind of like Back to the Future. You think, what if that letter doesn't get written? And it's really scary. And so they got married and she dropped out of school. So I would tease her about being a college dropout. Although my mom had a lifelong fascination with learning. She just had voracious intellect, and she's the one who taught me the joy of always learning even a little bit of a foreign language before you go to a different country. So the first words out of your mouth aren't English, and that you learn as much as you can. And she
That's cool.
kind of got overwhelmed, I think, by, she was a co-ed. So I think at first it was a little bit overwhelming for her because my father was a well-known astronomer, traveled in different circles than she did, but she quickly found her footing. She's very confident and went along the journey with my father for UFOs. I can only imagine the conversations they had when my father said, Mimi, the Air Force wants me to study flying saucers, which they were known back in those days. Well, Alan, how is that going to help you get tenure? How exactly does that sort of fit into our plan here? I don't know how that went. I think it creeped up. I'm sure neither of them had any idea that it would lead to where it did in 20 years or more of active service with the Air Force. My mom didn't believe in them either, and they came to feel like my father and my siblings that there is a phenomena here it's almost irrefutable. But that's the resting point. You should have an open mind about the potential existence of a new phenomena, but then keep your mind open and not grab the best available answer and shove it in there. I had a debate with Michael Shermer, who's a well-known skeptic, and I think I was able to successfully contour the debate because the question was, is there evidence of alien life on Earth? And one of the questions he was going to ask, but I sort of kneecapped him beforehand, and that others asked was, well, okay, so you say there are aliens here. Where do they come from? How do they get here? Why do they look like us? You don't need to answer those questions, right? You just need to say there's a phenomenon here. And my mom was like that. She was able to not have an answer to the question. She was also very active in the community. She was president of the Cook County League of Women Voters. She worked with the juvenile courts. She helped desegregate the schools. And in a dinner with my TV mom from the TV show Project Blue Book, my TV mom told me, "Hey, Paul, it's really cool what you said about your mom helping Black families buy houses." And I said, "Well, yeah, that is really cool, but I didn't tell you that, and I had never heard that before." So I had to track down. It was actually my sister who told her that, and it's true. My mom would go into a bank with the name of the Black family being sort of the front, and get the paperwork going and get the bank on the hook and help them buy the house. So she was also very active physically. My father didn't know how to fix anything around the house, couldn't cook anything but popcorn and hot dogs. So my mom was physically strong, very independent, and just gave me the joy of learning overall. And in one episode of Project Blue Book, my TV mom is in a hardware store looking to buy a bomb shelter, which never happened. And
I didn't think she had, but I saw that episode.
Right. Okay. So the clerk, mansplains to her, "Okay, well, when hubby's back in town, let me talk to him." And the line she comes back with, "No, hubby's not involved in this. Wifey's going to build it, and you're going to help me." And I got a couple of calls from family members after that episode saying, "That's exactly what Mimi would have said." And I said, "I know. I wrote that line."
She was so sassy. You wrote it? She was so sassy in that line. I love that line. She's like, the wifey will take care of it.
And the idea with the show was, and they were very good at understanding our parents, and we talked to them quite a lot. And I spent a lot of time with both TV mom and TV dad. And it's not creepy to have the arch villain from Game of Thrones play your TV father, not at all. And they wanted.
I hated him. He's so awesome. Go ahead. He's
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot about him. He's a great guy. So, but they wanted to be authentic and respectful, and I think they were to both of our parents. And with my mom, they wanted. My father's arc was skeptic to not believer, because scientists don't believe; they accept the weight of the data. And my mom was a little bit different in sort of echoing, where she would become a stronger and more forceful character. And I just tried to, push the gas on that a little bit, because I think she was really important also with the organization and the running of the Center for UFO Studies. And I can remember conversations that my parents had with people. And my father is one thing. He's a university professor, but some people couldn't really relate to that. My mom, a girl from Ohio, she's a housewife, not pretentious at all, not coming across as very fancy or overbearing, and people could relate to her really well. And if this salt of the earth, really smart, practical woman who's glancing over the side to make sure that the dish she's cooking for dinner isn't burning while telling you about aliens, believes in that, she was able to bring a lot of people along, I think.
And I can imagine in those times, they were dealing with, the nuclear war, having to think about that all the time. And it's like, and, UFOs, and she's sitting on these two topics. I mean, and she's a woman, at that time, which was just extremely challenging but she's a very strong woman. So where do you get your sense of humor then? Is that coming from dad? Or not?
Well, I think both my parents would bridle if I said it came from either one of them. My parents were fun. They liked humor. My dad, unfortunately, tragically, had an over fondness for puns, and so my mom made a rule: if you tell 3 puns at the dinner table, you're out. She just had that was it, and there was no appeal process.
You're out. 3 puns.
I love your mom.
Yeah, that would be like Lynn. I would probably allow more puns, but Lynn would probably cut you off.
And I'll tell you one story. I have so many things about my mom, but one time, my younger brother Ross and I and my mom went to a restaurant in Chicago. It was a cold, rainy night, and so we park in the parking lot of sort of like a neighborhood restaurant. We run into the restaurant, and then Ross and I look around. Where's mom? I don't know. I open the door, and there she is, standing in the pouring rain, no umbrella. Her hair, which had been done in the salon, is ruined. She's soaking wet, and her hands rolled in a tight fist on her hips, staring at me. And I looked at her and said, Mom, what are you doing? Get inside. And she just stares at me and then says slowly and loudly, open the door for your mother. And teenagers can get surly and defensive. No, this was DEFCON 5. So I just,
Yes.
sorry, come on in. Not nearly enough nutrition. So
Amazing.
I take the situation as her eyes are boring into my soul. And Mom, I'm sorry. I apologize. I promise. I give you my word. I will never do this again. I'll always open the door for you. Will you please now come inside? So she's kind of like scrutinizing me. There's nothing you can hide from your mom. And finally, I see like her fist unball. The blood starts to return to her fingers. Shakes rainwater. Lots of rainwater out of her hair. Straightens up. And now I'm holding the door. She walks towards me. And as she's walking past me into the restaurant, looks over at me and says, "Thank you, dear," and walks away.
Sassy.
So you may remember from Vernal that they gave me the moniker like door fairy, because the doors are flinging open as if by magic.
Oh. I don't remember that part. I do remember you all I remember is you passing by. Lynn had asked me where you were. I totally forgot, and all of a sudden I grabbed you by the shoulders and I'm like, Paul! And he's like, what? Lynn's looking for you. And I'm like, I am holding Paul, who I don't even know. And I'm like, Paul. He's just looking at me like, woman, get the guard. I can't remember a pebble pusher. But remember, I was looking for that stone.
Yeah, right.
Stone stealer, pebble pusher.
You notice the recurring theme here that Lynn is just running the show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm not
I would
doing
be
anything.
like,
I'm sitting back. I'm very, very subdued. I don't.
She's chill, not chill. She is chill.
Well, I've been accused of that too.
You've been accused of chill too, but so I had to kind of specify it. So Paul, when we were in Vernal, there was some lovely, lovely moments you were sharing. Obviously we all, this UFO community, and Jay Allen means everything to us. Plus, my gosh, who didn't love Close Encounters? The fact that he got, the fact that your father got to be a part of that project, and then furthermore that you got to be a part of Project Blue Book. I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Just kind of, when you went through it with him, and then what did that mean later when you got to kind of represent him at a different production? Is that okay?
Yeah. So Close Encounters was really cool. I remember a lot about that. I met Spielberg during the filming. He was not that well known. He had just done Jaws. So he's an up and coming director. And at one point, my parents said, "Hey, Paul, would you like to meet him sometime?" I said, "Sure." Then the day came to meet him, and I had to drive from Evanston, where I live, to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. I had to go with my parents. I was too young to drive. I said, "I don't want to go." And my mom said, "You said you were going. You are going." So I went. And it was fun. My father was a bit hesitant about the movie. When Hollywood comes knocking on the door for kind of a salacious topic, you're not really sure. But he was very happy with the movie. It helped make people feel comfortable and sort of legitimize their experiences. And it was, similar to his book, The UFO Experience, which is not called The UFO Sighting, right? Because as you ladies know, the phenomenon transcends the sighting of a craft, no matter what it looks like or how well it might be illustrated by our friend Michael Schratt. So it's this feeling of communication, sometimes before, during, and after the sighting, that is maybe the real signal part of the experience. So the movie was good in that aspect. Project Blue Book was fascinating in that, as I mentioned, they wanted to take the sort of authentic kernels of my parents and then put them in sort of exaggerated circumstances. My brother Joel and I were consultants, and often that means that you don't do anything and they just call you when they have a question. But because both Joel and I had a lot of experience in Hollywood, I asked if we could read the pre-production scripts and give notes, and also visit the set. And they said, sure. So we did. So every script we would get beforehand and give notes. Now, we don't have final say. We didn't have control. And it's really a function of the relationship you develop. So we had to sort of pick our battles, because the show was not what we would have made, but it was a great show that we did wind up having increasing influence on. Like, so one example is in movies and TV shows, when you have a scientist, because writers don't often understand scientists, they think they're like all like Dr. Spock, and it's all logic. And so there were a lot of initial lines of my father saying, that's not logical. He's a physicist. They don't use the word logic. So I sort of toned that down. Or, you know, they know every single science. Like in one episode, he was talking about, you know, complexities of deep sea ocean currents. And I said, that's about the exact opposite of his knowledge base. And, you know, when you talk to a PhD scientist, you know, my father was like a specialist in, you know, in supernova. If you ask them about black holes, they'll say, oh, I don't know, right? Because they have a very narrow lane. So that's one thing we're able to do. And it was very rewarding. They were very respectful. And one episode, to get back to Close Encounters, was, I think, episode 6 in season 2, where it was on the set of Close Encounters. And so I was there that day. And so at the end of the episode, I have a cameo where I'm a camera operator. And I came up with a backstory of my parents, you know, and I had kind of a hard scrabble upbringing, was in the Merchant Marine. A nice guy, a little bit rough and crusty around the edges.
Had a really good backstory for that cameraman.
Yeah, and I said, hey, what's where are my lines so I can start working on them? They said, yeah, we don't think you really need lines. You got such a commanding presence. Probably best not to have lines. Oh, okay, sure. So the end of the episode, you see me rising up in the camera operator chair, and then I stayed up there and, you know, about 30 feet in the air in the crane, talking to the cast and the crew after filming was done, telling them, you know, that I thought they were doing a good job, because it's really pieces of fiction like Close Encounters and Project Blue Book, which is sort of a mix, that bring more people into the tent, and I think raise the needle of the level of discourse on the topic. And then that night, so what was really fun about that was, here I was in a show about my father and mother, in an episode about the movie that my father worked on, in which he had a cameo, and now in this episode, I have a cameo. And then that night, went out drinking with Aidan Gillen until about 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
It was a stunning performance, Paul. It was my favorite part of the whole series, really. I
kind of nailed it. I mean, the way I sat there, like I'm doing now, just nailing it.
Yeah, you're nailing it. No, you're nailing it. For anybody that doesn't know, so Aidan Gillen was Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, and he got to play J. Allen Hynek in Project Blue Book. And it is, I really love this series. I really do like it. I haven't finished watching it all, but I'm like, I have a question for you. And I probably means nothing, because it's just licensed, a creative license. And I know the dramatization, it's a show. It's just, but it's based on real cases. So why do you think, so the show starts very focused on that, is it Gorman dogfight?
Yeah, the Gorman dogfight, right.
Yeah. So why go into that one? Was there any real significance, or is that something that was special to J. Allen, or, you know, what was it about that case? Because it seemed like a lot of it was originally based on that case and that particular person.
Yeah, looking back, I think it's because it really set the stage for this ongoing theme of these pilots with this communications that shouldn't be possible. It was a really good vehicle for that. I remember people complaining that in the real Gorman dogfight, they banked left instead of right. So, you know, they played with it, but I think it was that theme of the communications that spanned sometimes years that episode sort of helped kick off. You know, one of the questions I had, which I asked my friend Sean Jablonski, the showrunner, is hey, you showed Werner von Braun, the ex-Nazi rocket scientist, who my father actually did know in real life. And he creates like this, I don't know, interdimensional teleporting ship in the show. And it's this fantastic thread, but it doesn't go anywhere. Why is that?
Yeah.
And Sean said, because that actor was an asshole. We didn't want him back.
The guy that played Von Braun? Oh, funny. He kind of, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's funny.
No,
Oh,
or him.
that's one reason. That's one way to close that whole narrative.
Yeah. So
Do
somebody
you
else
have-
had a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. No, I was going to say you jump in because I've been yapping because I started talking to Paul. You know how Paul and I get. So
Well, somebody else. Oh, yes, you and Paul. I know. You go. I would never.
we
do
dance.
that.
It
I would
happens.
never
Of
go that
course
route.
not.
No,
She's
so
very
somebody else had
respectful.
said this in the chat, and I was curious too. Did your mom ever? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but did she ever unknowingly befriend a Russian spy in real life? Because that's exciting.
Oh, yeah. So, right. So I get asked a lot about, hey, Paul, what do you think about that?
Mm.
Your mom and a lesbian Russian spy.
Well,
And really,
there's that
the
part too. Yeah.
thing is, what
She
they
was
left
digging
out of
her.
the show, but they didn't put in there. Woohoo! No, I'm kidding. They asked about that, and my family thought it was kind of funny. That was all made up.
Yeah.
But my mom, her brother was the maitre d' at Studio 54, so it's not like she was overly prissy, right? So she'd seen a lot of
Studio
things.
54. That-
Oh yeah, back in the day, right? I mean, and so it was just fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'll say I'm not aware of any dalliances or relations she may have had with Russian spies of any sort.
Okay. So no friendships even. That's the route I was going. You took it to the next level, which cool.
But now to be serious about that, I mean, I do have a serious question follow up on that. Did you have, I mean, obviously with him being in such a very important position and, all the secrecy and he's poking the bear, right? I mean, were there times where, there was danger? Was there times where at least your family felt like they were in danger?
Mm.
And if you don't want to answer that, that's okay. I'm just, this is a real thing. It was.
No, I don't think my father ever felt he was in danger. He confronted the men in black, and there was the FBI and CIA, I think, were tracking him. But he never let on any sense of danger, and none of us ever felt, well, we had crazy people come to the house with knives and things like that, but there was random things that happened, but it wasn't like this sort of systematic dread or feeling that, hey, we're really in the thick of it now.
Can we just back the train up for a second? Your dad confronted the men in black. I think that's a story we need to hear.
Yeah, actually, I would say encountered. So he did see them several times, and I don't think that phraseology existed then, but he saw people in like dark sedans and dark clothes leaving the scene when he would go to talk to witnesses, and the witnesses just then would not say anything at all.
Interesting.
So that part of the narrative of the show is right, because
there was a white sedan one time too.
Mm.
So was that part, because part of drama, a show is a show, right? I didn't know if that part was drama or that part might have been slightly based on, some kind of experience that he had, because he keeps showing the guy with the hat, the guy, and not the Gorman guy, but the men in black. It's just he keeps seeing them. So I didn't know if that was kind of a call out to an actual experience or drama. So it's real.
I mean, like you said, especially in season 1, all the main incidents are based on reports of UFOs. But apart from that, any particular character, they're all amalgamations or complete fiction. So there's very few incidents of any kind that are accurate is more authentic with the sort of tone and spirit.
Gotcha.
Will says, I dig Paul because he's not a hoaxer. We need less hoaxers in astronomy / ufology. He just doesn't know
Let
you
me
well
go
enough.
ahead
I
and-
mean, Paul's last name really isn't even Hynek. So
I'm gonna go look. I'm trying to see what we have going on in the chat real quick and make sure we don't have
Walking on
you
the
guys
kind
have any
words from me.
questions. We have comments. Rin,
well,
he
infernal
was
woman.
depicted. Oh yeah, you did. I did share that. Sorry. When I told Paul that Lynn was going to be on this, he sends a comment. Oh, never mind. It's off. I never worked with that infernal woman. Just kidding. You there? Pretty cat meow emoji. It was hilarious. So we have some comments. So we got Rin. She was depicted as such a badass in, Project Blue Book, and I totally agree. Go Mimi. Where were Paul's opinions on the History Channel? Was he involved? Yeah, that's what we already talked about. I'm trying to
I think
find
Rin
if there was
said
other
also that her aunt dated Paul once a long time ago.
What?
Yeah,
What?
did you miss that comment? I didn't want to interrupt because I was trying
No,
to. But
please, but hold on. We got a comment. There's
it was way back, way back. Yeah, so
I'm
evidently
looking up
he went on a date with Rin's aunt at one point.
Rin.
You
Put that back
scoundrel.
in the chat, girl.
Scoundrel.
Rin. No, girl.
Heartbreaker?
I said, girl. Lynn. Yeah.
Well, if I was on a date with someone's aunt, the doors were open. We have established that.
Yes.
True.
Were the doors open, Rin? Her name is Marcy. Okay. Yeah, we won't talk last names because obviously, but yeah, there was a Marcy.
I'm a gentleman, so I'll neither confirm nor deny.
Gentleman all the way. Let me see. Because we have some special guests that are going to be joining us here in just a minute. So I do want to make sure that we make time for them. But I want to make sure that that the chat, anybody in the chat that you can see, Lynn, that had a question. I had a couple of questions from Oliviero.
I don't think so. Not that that
I
we had
got-
answered at this point.
Okay, I have a question that actually came from earlier. So on DM, ufology is not a science; is an interdisciplinary study involving different branches of science and technology. The average scientist is often very specialized in a few fields of investigation. Is that why scientists struggle to understand it?
That's a really good point.
Mhm.
It gets back to what I said about scientists being very narrowly focused. But also, I think along with that, and it's not just ufology, it might be like some kind of novel theories about ancient archaeology. Imagine if you're an astronomer or an archaeologist and you hear swirling about in the Twitter sphere and elsewhere these alternative theories. Well, you're busy with your class load, with the book you're writing, the grant that you're writing and hoping to receive, that's based on some type of established understanding, some type of mainstream consensus. And you hear these various theories. Well, you don't know which of those might be the most promising. And you just don't have time. You've got so much on your plate now. There's not really a lot of incentive for you to get involved with that. It's not really going to help your career. There's somebody already attached to that, so you can't be an original author. So to me, a lot of this is not like scientists erecting this intellectual Spartan, firewall to keep the heretics at bay. It's just that they're busy people that have enough to do. So then you add on that, I think that very perceptive comment that whatever it is not going to be in the exact narrow lane of their specialty, and they're going to feel themselves that I don't know anything about this, where we would say, but you're a scientist, of course you do. So I think there's a variety of reasons that are just very generic and prosaic as to why scientists don't sort of migrate over and learn more about it, because it's not in their exact wheelhouse, and they don't really know which of those 10 things that they're hearing is the most credible. And I've been a grant reviewer for the National Science Foundation, and I know somewhat of how processes like that work. And it's just people are busy. I think it comes down to a lot.
So let me, I'm going to ask a follow-up that I just thought about from Vernal. After Vernal, so while we were in Vernal, we're sitting there with Travis Taylor talking Skinwalker, and then we come out of Vernal and Travis Taylor turns out to be, part of the UAPTF. Do you have any thoughts, ideas? I'm glad he's, he was involved in it in whatever way he has been. So, I mean, were you surprised by that?
I've long since stopped being surprised by pretty much anything that happens in UFOs as it relates to people doing things. I think it's great. And I just want to say that Lynn is infernal, but you are invernal. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boom, a new pun. Holla. There. He froze. He was so excited. He froze. Yes, invernal versus infernal. I love it. You see?
Yep.
You're sharp. I love how you just spun that over. Okay, so let's see.
Wheels were turning for a while for that one.
Yes, he's like, you know what's about to happen. So hold on, make sure that my guests are coming up. I'm going to go ahead and add our first special guest, who I believe I'm going to go ahead and add him to it. Everybody, put your hands together. Ooh, we got 2 guests in. We're missing one more. Okay, I'm going to add one. First of all, Cosmic Counselor, Terry Hall. Terry,
Hi,
I forgot to do my clap thing. It's like I
Hey,
have
Paul, how
music
you
for
doing,
this.
buddy?
Hey, Terry.
And also joining us, this is a whole Vernal reunion for you, Paul. Tim Senor.
There he is.
Let me go ahead and just do the.
Us.
That's your welcome music there, the welcome cheer. And I think we got one more person. Let's see.
Look at Tim. He even freezes perfectly. Like
Oh my
ridiculous.
God. Is that Frozen or is that his profile pic? Because that looks so Olin Mills. It's like
No, that was Frozen. He's got like Zeta Reticuli backlighting or something there too.
this is not
Tim
fair.
doesn't
When I
sit
freeze,
still that long. He's got to be frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know, because if I freeze, I'd be like, and he freezes like supermodel.
I think he reversed that spontaneity.
Tim, are you there,
Tim,
buddy?
walk to the light. Walk to the Zoom light.
He's stuck,
He's
Tino.
actually just staying
He's
still
stuck.
very long.
You got abducted again.
Oh, there we go. And let's keep the party rolling.
Hey!
What's up, guys? BUFON forever. What's up, Terry? What's up, Paul?
Buffon, show off your Buffon. Buffon shirt.
Vernal Plus. Yeah, bitches.
And then we
We get
need
text.
Timmy. We need Timmy back so you guys can update us, because if I understand, you guys have been. I know that they were at a MUFON event. Maybe you were at a MUFON event. What's been going on? So these guys are going to update us. We need Tim back, though. Timmy.
Well, Paul brought up a really good point here just a minute ago. When he said that the reason that scientists don't gravitate towards this is because there's just too many conflicting things going on. We're putting together a project that Tim will speak on, that hopefully we'll be able to combat that a little bit if we can get Tim back online.
Yes. Let me
Tim is
text
a hard
Timothy.
bet. I'm surprised you're able to get him for that 2 seconds. That's usually all.
Even that one picture. I could just put up a picture because he looked
I mean,
exactly like.
He's
Timer
just big
shot.
timing us. That's what it comes down to. I mean,
You
Paul, I
coming
have a
back,
strange
Tim?
feeling that we'll be seeing each other in Albuquerque before too long.
Nice.
Ooh.
Awesome.
What's about to
Albuquerque.
happen? We need
Albuquerque,
somebody
if your
spill the
card is, yeah,
beans.
Albuquerque.
Got
It's
an
also the
RV
crack
to
central.
Albuquerque.
I know that all too well right now.
I heard
Well, I
that.
have to be out of
Yeah,
the
it's
humidity
beautiful out
occasionally
here.
and go where there's dry heat.
Hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful out here. It's amazing. I love it. Never leaving.
I was in Vegas one time. It was about 115 degrees outside, and we hopped on the elevator, and this lady comes in, and she goes, I know it's hot, but it's dry heat. I wanted to smack her so bad. When it's 115 degrees, it's just plain hot. It doesn't matter if it's humid or not.
If it's humid, it's really, really bad. It's bad on your hair, too. Sorry.
Well,
Hair challenges. Okay, I'm not hearing from Tim. I don't know what's happened to Tim. So, Terry, you might have to do some sharing. Or we can just keep talking to Paul because Paul has a lot to say.
well,
Want to just...
let's give Tim another minute or two because, to be real blunt, Tim's the face of the company. You don't want this face as a face of any company. To be real honest.
Oh, Terry Hall.
Don't say
cosmic
that. That's not
counselor.
nice, Terry. Be nice to Terry.
We love you, Terry.
Well, I
I'm
will say
wearing the
this much.
Terry hat.
I will say this much, that our mission statement is unity in the community. We've got way too many conflicting things going on. People talking smack behind everybody else's back. That's not how this is going to progress. We need to build a vocabulary about this. So it's easier to talk about, so we can talk about it. And you can't do that if you've got one guy saying, well, I can summon UFOs, and another guy saying, well, it's just flares in the background. That's just never going to work.
Yeah, I agree.
There's always going
Hey,
to be
Terry-
dissenting opinions, though, I think.
You know, you're right, Terry. I was echoing those sentiments last night when I was trashing Lynn in the conversation.
I love the haircut, Lynn, by the way. The hair looks awesome.
Thank you.
You see there, that's the first person. She was wondering. Oops. She was wondering who was gonna bring that up. So Terry,
No,
while
Will
we
brought
look
it up.
for-
Will Gamer
Will
already
brought it up first.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gorilla. Good job, buddy. Terry, I mentioned something to Paul earlier that I'm not sure that I had enough facts about, but I did mention to him about the Python tracks that are coming out of the pool. So while we wait for Tim, do you want to give us a little bit of give everybody an info? Because a lot of people didn't even hear about this because it was on Instagram. It was on Charlie's Instagram. That was
It's not very well. It hasn't been pushed around too much lately, but there's been some really, really strange occurrences out at Blind Frog Ranch. The pond that everybody's familiar with. The guys woke up one morning, went out to the pond, and there was some tracks leading out of the pond. But what made them so unusual is they were belly tracks from a snake that were between 8 and 10 inches wide. It's a 20-foot snake. And there was more than one. They've done some more drilling and stuff out there and just disturbed the woo even more. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I'm just gonna, I'll just break it because apparently Tim is having a little bit of difficulty. We're starting a project called Project Starlight. And to begin with, what we're doing is we're taking an RV and we're going to rig it up with scientific gear and make a mobile lab for our industry. Everybody else has got one. Weather channels have they chase storms, and oil fields chase oil in the ground. Well, we're going to start chasing the woo.
I love that. Chasing the woo. I think we need a t-shirt, but keep on going. Merch.
What we're going to do is everything will be streamed live once we get everything up and running. And the only two things we're really going to keep proprietary is the location that we're at, out of respect for where we're at, and some of the equipment that we're having put together for us. Besides that, everything's going to be right out and open and upfront for everybody. We also have an open invitation for anyone who wants to come along and join us on this. All you got to do is sign a waiver and jump in.
Nice.
And I'll give an email that you can contact for that. Just send it to me. I'm the guy that's doing all the logistics for this, so
I can put it in the video. I'll put it in the details of the video. You can just give that to me. Mm-hmm.
Well, I keep Tim's fingernails clean. Let's just say that.
Oh, Timmy. Oh, his internet went down. That's what happened. He texted. He's like, boo, internet down. So, yeah, he'd love to hear that you keep his nails clean, but you do so much more than that, Terry Hall.
Oh, he hears that all the time.
So are you guys? So is this I know that you're not disclosing the location, but it is going to be in the Uinta. Are you focusing
Well,
on
the
that
first place
in
we're
the
going is back to
Utah?
the Uinta Basin. The first
Okay.
place we're going is back to the Uinta Basin, and that's a lot of it is based on the experiences that we had while we were there. To have a bullet move in your chest 7 inches and then find out 2 weeks later why it happened, I need to know.
Yeah.
You know, the guys out at Blind Frog, what is shown on TV is they're looking for this Montezuma's gold. I don't care about Montezuma's gold. I lived there for 28 years in the Uinta Basin, and we found stashes here and there and everywhere. Never did I care about it. What I care about is what's happening out there. Crusher Carl, that we're all familiar with, he's found out a few things here lately. He's been doing some energy readings at the petroglyphs and getting some strange results out of it. What they just released out at Skinwalker Ranch with the anomalies in the atmosphere, that's a big part of it. It's like there's a thin place in the veil out there. But what's really strange is this idea for Project Starlight came across actually when we were driving back from Vernal. It was just hey, why don't we have this? And the next thing you know, a pebble turned into a snowball is turning into an avalanche.
So
I've
I
never
have a
had this
question.
happen.
That Paul, are you familiar with this? Are you guys? Is Paul part of this? What is going on with you guys?
Well, Tim had a chance to meet up with Paul in Denver for about 15 minutes and kind of glossed over what we're doing. And from what I understood from Tim, Paul gave us his thumbs up.
You see?
Again, there we go.
I just saw the thumbs up, and that is as good as it's going to get, you guys, because he's a man of few words sometimes. Like I asked him 10 times, are you going to be on my show? And I asked him these other questions, and his only answer was sure. And I'm like, sure to this, or are you going to be on my show? Because if it's, I'm going to be on my show, here's the proper gift for that versus a GIF for sure, it's a great day, which would have been great, but not as great as to be on my show. So anyway, so you don't want to expand on that, Paul?
Lynn hadn't authorized me to say anything more than that at that point.
Well, I keep it to your reign on Paul.
I did check with her.
So it looks like you guys are going to be doing some research out there, Terry. Then you got an RV like Walter White style.
Well, that's the thing, and that's where I need Tim in on this.
Hey, Tim says he's back. You see that chat? Tim says he's back.
He's back.
Oh, awesome.
Tim is. We're looking for Tim. Looking out for. I have to just do this Linda song. Looking out for Timmy. Timmy.
There he is. Oh, he was on the car. Awesome.
Yeah, I had to move.
The man in plaid is back.
That's right. I'm so sorry, guys. My internet, literally Xfinity, went down in our zip code. So,
well, we will tell you, you had a great pose when it went offline. You were in a perfect. It was like the light and the angels shining down. So tell us what's going on, Timmy.
Love to. And hi, Paul and Amy. And Lynn. It's great to see you. And Terry, what's up, buddy? Thanks so much for inviting me on your show. It's been a while since we've all hung out. It's great to see all your smiling faces. Paul, it was great to briefly see you up there and in Denver. Too bad we didn't get to catch up and I didn't get to give you a full briefing on this project, but it was great, and I got to tell the audience and this team here, Paul is one of those people that is so approachable and so open on this topic that I felt comfortable to invite him on this. And I think before I even got done with a sentence inviting him, he was already saying yes. Now that might be simply because he had better things to do and he was just saying anything to get out of the conversation with me. But I'm hoping that it's because he understands that we're really on a mission here. And I'm excited to be involved with Mr. Paul Hynek. It's such an honor. And so thank you, Paul, for being so supportive right off the bat. That was actually a really big deal for me. So thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. I have my boss here now.
Tattooed thumbs up.
So what are you guys going to be doing out there, Tim?
Right.
What's your
so
first
we-
task? What's your first project?
Right. So I can give you a brief synopsis of what we're kind of planning as a whole for the project. So we have divided this off into two specific sections of analysis and research. And so the first part is Project Starlight, which is basically an RV that'll go on locations to hotspots. The first one is going to be out in Vernal, and we plan on actually building 2 more labs this year that will go out on locations. We hope to triangulate information at the same time. So if we're collecting information in Vernal, we can see what's happening over in New York, or possibly up in Canada up at the same time, just to give you a hint of where we're planning on placing those other 2. And so Project Starlight is going to incorporate the research portion where we're collecting live data on the topic. And then I have a second section, and so that's going to be run by a team called UAPRG, which is just the UAP research group. And then we have a second division of this, which is the UFO RG. And this is the UFO research group that's going to be looking into historical data and trying to pull solid cases from history that have researchable data attached to it, if that makes any sense. So not just stories, we're looking for things that have a little bit of evidence historically that we can sink our teeth into. And our idea is then to bring the current research that we have from the UAPRG division, and then historical data coming from the UFO RG division, put this together and present it to Congress. And so we have a team that are already willing, such as Robert Salas and Lou Elizondo, that'll be presenting, because we already know that they have that venue, not only in this country, but in other countries to share this. But we are planning on making this presentation as often as possible. So we will be a source, just like MUFON is becoming a source for this topic going in front of Congress. We would like to present data that can be really run down and given some credibility because of the people involved and the fact that we're bringing actual evidence and data and proof of this topic being a reality. So understanding the position that Congress is kind of in, they're really looking for this information, and so we want to bring it. And so that is really our mission, and we're really clear on it. We have had nothing but support, as you can see, from people like Paul Hynek getting excited about the project once they see that it's a very clear direction that we have, and it's actually a really simple process, and we shouldn't overthink this. And so what our plan involves is complete transparency on every step of the way. We'll have cameras that'll be on our researchers, so they'll have a chance to see, the audience and the public will have a chance to see our actual research and what we're doing. And we'll have constant updates from the research team that is going into the history. And so we plan on complete transparency throughout this entire process.
Cool. So when you're talking about like cameras on researchers and stuff, are you talking about, this is going to be filmed and shown on YouTube? Is it going to be open? Are you going to be just publishing the data open source? What does that all mean to us? Like,
yes.
And you
yes,
guys,
and yes.
please jump in, girls, because I'm like, bah, I had too much 5-hour energy today. Bah. So
That's
yeah,
great.
jump in. But yeah.
And so we will have a website that we will make public, and there will be multiple webcams there along with our updated research and what we're up to. We'll keep posting to that. And then my YouTube channel, I may actually change the name of Anonymous Rex to the name of the project here shortly and just be streaming live there, or I may start a new one and just dedicate something to that and just report from Anonymous Rex. But one way or another, It's absolutely going to be free. At no point are we going to be attaching a $sign to any of the information that we have. In no way do we need to profit. This is already paid for. All of the projects in our future will be paid for by me or somebody independent. So we're not looking for any kind of financing. We're looking just to share this data and to get the truth to Congress.
Sounds like a perfect plan to me. You know, so as far as data is concerned, so when, first of all, when are you? I've heard the RV, the first RV has been acquired, right? Starline, is that right?
The Starliner, yeah, the
The
Starliner.
Starliner. It sounds like a ship. It's awesome.
Yep,
Um,
yep. And so we'll be hands on it on Monday, literally.
okay, I want to put
And
this in
so-
perspective, you guys. We left Vernal when? Like beginning
May.
of June, May,
End of May.
end of May.
Yeah.
It is July 16th, and he's got a van. He's got the RV. He's got, you know, Paul Hynek giving a thumbs up with his cat over there. And I believe you also have some equipment. I just want to add some perspective to this because this is crazy that, you know, something like this, like when things come together, they just come together. So tell us more.
Oh, it's been a whirlwind, all right.
There's
It
Terry.
has. Well, so I mean, just as I'm explaining this to you, I presented this to a few other, well, quite a lot of other corporations and individuals that have volunteered their services or gear. And so I've been, you know, paying for a lot of it out of pocket, to be completely honest. But at the same rate, for every piece I think I've paid for, I've had maybe one volunteered. So I'm working with Dave Mason on designing gear. You know, I have ideas for things that don't exist, unfortunately. So he's helping me to perhaps put something together that'll aid in my research, because a lot of what we're realizing is that, you know, this phenomenon acts in ways that so far have been relatively undetectable. So I've had to really kind of expand my way of thinking on how I can collect real evidence and something that's tangible that can be collated with other forms, you know, not just visual of evidence. And so I've been reaching out to people that are, you know, kind of cutting edge on the technology in this industry. There's a few people that are out there, and then I'm also taking that into consideration with people that have already been doing it. So the head of the MUFON Star team sat with me, Richard Lang, and he handed me 6 copies of his book, which is literally an investigator's guide. But that was written in the late 90s. So obviously he sat with me and we talked about what I could bring to the table as of now. And so MUFON and the old Star team involving him and also Jeremy Ray have also volunteered to be involved and to help me on the technical side and the investigator side. I might be able to talk Jeremy Ray into coming out. But I have also Dave Altman potentially, who's interested in the topic, and I might be able to talk him into coming out and being a researcher. So really what my plan was to get the wheels on the ground, get them out there, start the process, and then allow some of the data to speak for itself and let other research see what we're doing, get interested, and come out. Because honestly, I don't like dropping too many names right now, but there are plenty of people that have committed to coming out. And this is just, like I said, the first step really in this process, because we really do intend on having 3 labs that are always running. So if something happens over our skies, we're able to capture some data and collate it.
I want to go back to Paul. Paul, what does that thumb up really mean? Like, how excited are you about this? What is going to be your involvement? Can you spill the beans, or is these non-spillable beans?
I have long since spilled all the spillable beans I have. I'm an open book. Yeah, I mean, I love this. Tim and Terry know, well, you guys all know from Vernal, I'm very interested in the notion of objective verification of the phenomena. You know, a lot of people have a lot of experiences and aren't concerned with somebody else giving their benediction to whether something they feel happened or not. But because I grew up betwixt and in between science and sort of fringier things, I like that sort of intellectual land bridge. I think that's very valuable and productive real estate. So any endeavor that comes at it from a research point of view to try to collect evidence and present that, especially if it's curated and sort of proactively done in scientifically friendly fashion, that's what excites me the most. We have so much random evidence that we've brought to various scientists, and it doesn't move the needle because it's just this sort of hodgepodge of witness accounts and strange materials and things. That's just not how science works. You know, they're busy, but that they don't know what to do with that. So we can work with science and have these labs and gather evidence in a way that's sort of scientifically compliant, that has a real chance to get scientists to lean in more and more. And when you get them more and more involved, you'll have people relaying this information that are not viewed as UFO people, but as scientists who have a newfound appreciation for the legitimacy and the objective reality of what's going on.
That's right. And may I just jump in here, because Paul, that's great. I love hearing you talk. Here's the really important part to underscore here too. So David Marlar is doing some incredible work. He is gathering all of the original files from a lot of important researchers. And Paul, I don't know if we're allowed to get too specific on that. You may know a little bit more than I do about what that library consists of. And I'm going to throw the baton to you, so maybe you could be a little more specific. But that is an important integral part that inspired me, to be honest, when I met him, to incorporate that into this project. And with his volunteering of all that data, I felt it was incredible and undeniable. And I think that this is the kind of information that will hold some weight when we go in front of Congress. And so would you be okay in detailing a little bit about what David is up to and what that is going to mean for our project?
Yeah, I don't know how much I should speak on behalf of Dave, and I echo your comments about him being just a super stud and having an increasingly voluminous New Mexico modern themed version of the Alexandria Library of old. He's just an indefatigable researcher who understands how scientists think and presents quite well in that way. And he's just gathered a lot of information. And he's just he's a strong force in the field and a super swell guy to boot.
Indeed. And so a lot of the data that he's collating is going to be part of this project, whatever he's willing to share. But I have volunteered myself and other team members from the UFO RG to go and help digitize a lot of that, because I know part of his mission is to digitize it and have a library that's available online, not only for researchers, but potentially for the public. And I find that hugely a gracious endeavor. And I was proud when he offered for me to come and volunteer my time to come and digitize that. And so I am looking forward to that incredibly. Albuquerque.
Well, I wouldn't be a data person for work, for my degree or for my job, without asking, what type of data are you going to be publishing, friend? Because that's the first thing that everybody, I already have people on the chat, and I know that this is just starting, but I guess that depends on the type of experiment. So maybe talk about a little bit of what the actual research is going to be. But we as consumers, and obviously the UFO community is full of IT people that love to turn through data. We just give us the data, but what does it mean? It's like interpretation versus, just because I have it doesn't mean I know what to do deal with it. So what are you going to be? What is the vision there for sharing? Like,
Which aspect?
oh no, we
So
lost Terry. Like what? I'm sorry, we lost Terry. We lost Terry.
oh, he'll
Okay,
be back.
he'll be back. Okay, Tim, take it.
Well, which aspect? Do you mean the let's just say the UAP RG data or the UFO RG data? Are you specifically
Well,
wondering about?
okay, it's going to be definitely both, but I'm also thinking about the actual experiments. So there is a twofold question. So you got these
Okay.
experiments and these tests. You have a lab, right? What type of testing is it going to be? All filming, trying to capture the phenomenon in the sky? Are you going to be doing some of the things like Carl's doing and look at petroglyphs and looking at the power of the earth? Or are you going to be looking at your own experiences, how your body, reacts under certain, what are you thinking? Could
That's
be many
great.
things.
Those are the right questions, and actually, you're thinking the right way, because we're absolutely open to all kinds of data that we're going to be collecting. So yes, we have plans to have human and animals up there as receptors, and obviously, it's an important factor to have a human there because there's a consciousness aspect to it. We want to know. So there will be times when we may abandon the location temporarily and only view from remote locations to see if we still collect the same kind of data. But typically, there will always be two people on the location to keep each other safe and to also bear witness to anything that happens and to mostly for safety. But there are all kinds of data sensing equipment planned, and I can't get 100% specific as to what we're putting in there because I don't want to muddy the water at this point. But here's so I may not tell you how I collect the data, but I will share all the data. And so how I collected it will become very transparent at that point. So, open sourced data for all people, whether you're coming from a science background or layman, it'll be available through the website and also by request. Will allow people up to the location. If you sign you can sign a waiver and come visit the location. So we're making it public as long as you have permission. You're more than welcome, and by permission I mean access via waiver. No problem. So we encourage visitors if you're curious. But yes, we'll have 24/7 cameras on all of the labs as we move forward, and we hopefully, without getting into too much personal space invasion, we're planning on having even our researchers wearing cameras. So you'll be hearing and living with those researchers. We're really trying to bring this topic close to people in a way that they can kind of feel like maybe they're a part of it. This topic is so elusive, right? And a lot of people have no idea what it's even about. So what if you could actually live an experience with someone from a POV perspective? I'd like to hand that out if it happens. So I want to be prepped with gear that'll record that. So that's one very specific thing that we are doing that will be available visually, and you'll have the audio for that. Now, as far as data collection goes, some of that is in the works. I'm working on some things that have never been used before. And then there's a few things that we have seen used before. And so, I'm working with Dave Mason. Some of the tech that he's used will be repeated. And I'm hoping for some of that to be volunteered so I don't have to pay for it. But if you watch A Tear in the Sky, Carolyn Corey's film, you'll get a kind of an idea of what our data collection is going to look like, because a lot of that tech is going to make it to our program. So, of course, a lot of it will be installed instead of handheld. So it's not going to be exactly that. But my point is that a lot of what they were looking for and how they did it will be repeated. And then we'll just take it to the next level, because my experience and a lot of the people that are coming onto this project have had experiences that have given me some insight on what I need to be looking for and how I could potentially look for it. So I do have one person. So I graduated from a few different universities, and I've reached out to some of the professors I worked with that are still around, and they've volunteered to be involved. So one of them is a meteorologist, and so I'm using some of his abilities and his understanding of how to collect data on that topic to come up with some new gear. And so, without giving too much away, there's definitely something that can be told, data that can be collected with air pressure and things like that. You know, it seems like UAP interacts with our air, you know, when it gets here and things like that. And so we can perhaps record how that changes when they're here, if that makes any sense. Just very loosely, this is kind of how we're thinking. And so that's kind of what we're, you know, digging into. Obviously, a lot of natural energies, recording that, just simple things with EMF detectors. We have, you know, directional microphones and things like that, so we can listen in, not just watch. And then, obviously the locations are very important. So a hotspot has certain things attached to them. Often it's water. In some cases, it's not water. But two of the locations that we're planning are absolutely ocean or water linked. And so a lot of the tech that I'm getting into will be deep ocean research. I am a diver. I'll be going out on a boat here in Oregon doing some research in some quote unquote dead zones that are occurring here mysteriously. Out in the ocean. And then also Psionics is volunteering some of their new marine cameras, and Psionics is a multi spectrum camera, and their new marine version is something that I'll be able to use at my my water hotspot locations that'll be looking out into the ocean very deeply 24/7. And as the audience will be able to look at that too.
I want to bring in Amy a little bit on that too, because we were just talking and on your show, you were reading through the amendments, you know, to the bills, and the fact that they were talking about the submersibles, that they were, you know, that is in the amendments, very spelled out. I figured you'd have thoughts. You're like nodding because you're like, yes, USOs, yes, USOs.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I think it's interesting that they're starting to talk about USOs. And that's what's funny. People are like, oh, you know, now we know. And the woo was never in I never thought about the woo. And it's like, you guys, like literally 6 months ago, USOs were woo. Like, or a year ago, it was like, oh, okay. Like you could believe in a flying saucer. But I remember when somebody threw the USO thing at me the first time, I was like, no, dude, there's no such thing. And what's up, Paul Hynek?
Yep.
What's up, Terry? What's up, Tim? What's up, Lynn?
And they actually retitled it. They retitled it. It's now UAUP. So it's
UAUP,
unidentified aerial underwater phenomenon. It's in the new.
That sounds like something you need a shot for.
Do they do that just to like throw us off? Go ahead, Terry.
Why can't they just do UP, unidentified phenomena? Why we gotta make it difficult?
I think personally they had to rebadge it because they're starting to realize that it's also underwater, and that is a very important factor. And I think they only just realized that recently, and that's why they're rebadging it. Personally.
But just take out the A. Why add another U?
Well, I keep going back to the fact that invernal, sorry, because I'm invernal. I'm an invernal woman, Paul Hynek.
I love it.
So invernal, again, Travis was touching on Aguadilla 2013, and that's like one of my favorite freaking cases because it's the one where, I mean, I know that people say that it doesn't even look like it went into the water. It freaking did. It like duplicated, and the fact that they're studying that, and then all of a sudden the amendments talking about submersibles, it's like we all follow, we see like little hints, bits and pieces, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now it's a thing. You know,
If I'm not
woo is the
mistaken, is it
thing.
one of the locations that we're going to be checking out? Tim, you've already had some experience at
I'm sorry, what was the beginning part of your question?
one of the places that we're going to be going to. You've had an experience with something coming out of the water.
I do. I have footage. I would love to share. I have a circle
Hey, Sharon.
coming out of the ocean that I captured with cell phone. Actually, my wife captured with cell phone from the hotel that we were staying at while I was at the hotspot. So this was like after the end of the day, I was done filming. Our hotel was right on the beach, and we were just relaxing and it was just after sunset, and it just looked like a gray ball popped out without any splash, and it was just sitting there, and I was like, okay, that's bizarre. My wife grabs her phone and she starts filming it, and it just goes up and then shoots up into the sky very rapidly. Just a gray ball, no shine to it, no light, nothing. And it's just the weirdest capture. I have no idea how to explain that one off. But yes, so that is actually a hotspot here in Oregon that we will be dedicating a lab to, actually. So it has paid off a ton of data ready here.
I think you might be breaking up a little bit.
With me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I'm in my truck.
Yeah.
Using
You're
Wi-Fi.
kind of breaking up, but I wanted to make sure. So, Paul, and you guys did mention, caught you on this one, Tim. You were talking about being some consciousness factor to some of these experiments, and maybe some meditation. I mean, does that tie to a lot of? I know, Paul, that you're very into. Believe you're very into meditation and all these, trying all that type of different things to your body. You see, how your body reacts, and just kind of testing yourself. What are your thoughts on, are you really, I mean, obviously I saw you with the light shining on you, laying on the floor in vernal, because I have to say it one more time. But is that something that you're actively working on with some of these experiments? Are you guys looking at that angle of this from your perspective?
I don't. I don't think you'd find any of us who don't think that consciousness is sort of the underlying substrata to all of this phenomena, whether it manifests itself as aliens or DMT machine elves or ghosts or what have you. It's all about consciousness, and that's a really hard thing to pin down. It's a really hard thing to put in a petri dish or on to record in video. And what I wonder about is if there isn't some kind of ultimate entity that can instantiate in different ways, or that we just perceive in different ways because of our different belief systems and the different technologies of the day. Like we saw airships and steampunk airships in the 1890s, because that's what we knew. So I think consciousness is the key, and that's why I'm personally very interested in DMT as a sort of shortcut, or as a route to get to there, and it's been very tantalizing for me so far.
I'm dying to try. That's a talk for a different day. So I want to make sure, I know that we're running out of time, and I want to make sure that Amy and Lynn, if you guys have questions for Paul or Terry or Tim or all of the above, please,
I just wanted to say, like, how amazing it is that I think you guys are doing this. I think that there needs to be way more citizen-based data initiatives, more and more and more, because something that happened was there were some interesting sensational headlines about unaccounted alien pregnancies that it was actually came through a government document leak. And when they went back and they looked through the government document leak, that information actually came from MUFON. So even the government is using citizen-based data. So I'm just really excited about it. I'm also, I don't know if you know this, I'm a professionally trained librarian who lives in Albuquerque. I have a master's
Yeah.
degree in library science. So there you go. And I have your
Amazing.
card. So I'll email you, call you, whatever. I still have your card. I was looking at it the other day. I never lose business cards.
There you
and
go,
then,
Tim.
Good one.
You know, Terry, you keep going at it. And Paul Hynek, you keep going at it too. I also think that the doors of perception are opening. And I'm going to get on that DMT train soon too. And
I think we need to.
That's great.
I'm purchasing my first NFT soon, Paul. And it's actually that art.
Well done.
That's actually the art that you put in your presentation in Vernal of J. Allen Hynek, Undead Gaucho's art. That's going to be the first
cool.
NFT I purchase. I mean,
That
I feel
is so
bad like I'm
cool.
getting first dibs, but like I'll probably just give it to you. if and when I don't want to pressure him though, because like NFT process is
Yeah.
really intense. Like now that I'm learning about it, but anyway, I was like, that's
Yeah.
totally the first NFT I want to buy, and then I was like, but then I'll have to just give it to Paul. So I don't know. Just
Like a
let you know.
gift.
I don't know. I don't know how long it'll take for it to make. Who knows if it'll happen? But I just want to tell you, I think that's really cool. It's just really cool.
That's great.
That's it. That's all I got.
Well, Lenny, you have any questions for Paul, Terry, Tim? Before we're gonna do a little segment here at the end, but
I don't
You're
think
good?
so. Yes, thank
I
you.
can't wait to go to the next conference, and but I cannot believe that I've met all of you guys in person. It's nuts. The fact that you guys are that this was not that long ago, and you're so far, so far down the path of something that you would think that it's impossible to do, and that's just really cool to see. It's like people coming together. It's like, screw, don't wait for permission. Let's go make it happen. And that's what I think is magical about this project. So, and I will be sending my resume over to you because I do data, baby. I'm data girl. So don't worry. You're going to be hearing from all three of us.
This is the way this whole project has gone, because Tim and I were just talking about, well, we need somebody who's good at correlating data, like a librarian. And
yeah,
This
you're
whole
talking
project
open
has been like
source.
this.
You're talking open source immediately. I was like, we could distribute this to all the libraries. Like, I could figure out a way. Just upload you the link. We get some experts, peer review it. I can find a way. I can find a way because I've just seen it, how they put in the open source on everything. And all you have to do is all this librarian stuff that I know.
But Tim, I'm going to say it once again. I'm going to say it one more time. I don't know if this was our idea or not.
That's what trips me out when you told me this story, that you guys are sitting in a truck, just kind of talking on the way back from Vernal, and all of a sudden this happened, right?
Well, check out the guy in the plaid shirt. Man in plaid right there. He's a steamroller. Once you get him going, just back up.
He's a networking machine, this one.
We're
I've
gonna
seen it
have
happen.
Watching
Okay.
Tim
We've
work
had a lot of
is
fun.
phenomenal.
It's like,
I mean, the guy gets, literally, the guy gives me goosebumps.
I'm really excited. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'm going to put you guys backstage here because I'm going to close the show, but I want to get back together with you guys backstage to talk before we leave. So Tim,
Thanks for having us
Terry, and lovely Amy, I'm going to put you guys backstage and then say bye and say bye to the chat. So goes Amy.
Be seeing you,
Goes
Paul.
Terry. Bye, Terry.
Great seeing you.
Tim. And then there's three of us. So, Paul, Lynn, so let's start with you. What are you up to lately? You got multiple shows. You got Rebellious Ufology, Rebellious Archaeology. You want to update the team on that? It's like,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, so every Monday night I do my show on my channel with Jim Goodall. It's all Goodall, which is always fun because you never know what's coming out of Jim's mouth. And then on Thursday nights, I've teamed up with Jared Murphy, and we've kind of combined forces into Rebellious Archaeology. So we are going to all these different sites that are unknown or, well, they're known, but we don't know where they came from, who built them, what they are, looking at the archaeology news of the week every week, and just kind of all these weird ancient sites that we just have so many questions about, and seeing how does this apply to ufology? How does it apply to ancient civilizations? Were there advanced ancient civilizations that we just don't know about? So it's a lot of fun. So I've been doing that lately. So it's been a lot of traveling around, going to different places.
I was so excited, and we've been watching, and I was going to say you're in a show with Nicolas Cage, but it's not Nicolas Cage, it's Jared Murphy, but he looks just like Nicolas. Dude, Paul, I don't know if you've seen Jared Murphy, but he looks just like Nicolas Cage. So she's basically co-starring in a show with Nicolas Cage. So thank you so much, Lynn. So Paul,
thank you.
So where are you going next? Where are we going?
Well, I want to hear more about rebellious archaeology. That's pretty freaking cool. So where am I going? I'm going to Canada to our family's summer cabin in Northern Ontario next week. I'm going to Bulgaria to speak at a UFO disclosure event in September. And I start teaching again at Pepperdine in Malibu in September as well.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited. We're going to keep up with you, obviously, and keep up with the guys and your involvement in this project and crypto and all of the cool stuff that Paul Hynek is into. So I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show. I do remember when I asked you on DM, I was like, I remember when we first met, we danced over, in Vernal. So I promised you backup dancers, right? But, like the Rockettes were not available and I don't have a budget. So I have to get creative but I did promise backup dancers. I did promise some dancing in a party. So I'm going to play us off with a new segment that I came up with for today called Mindforked Dance Party. So I'm going to put you guys all, backstage. We're going to watch that, and then we're going to talk. We're going to have a little StreamYard backstage thing. Let me go say bye to the chat fam here. You guys, thank you so much. Dorothy Hawkins, Second Star Survival, Gorilla Gamer. I mean, everybody showed up. I think I had to hi to everybody else. And oh my God, Tori Waba. So you guys hang in there because you might recognize some faces in the following video. So you might want to watch real close. And I'm sorry, Paul. I'll just say that. For whatever might happen. You just, for whatever I might say or do that might offend you in the following segment, it's Mindforked. So that's kind of on you. You should have known. So thank you so much. This has meant the world to me, Paul. Really. I'm just this new channel, and we appreciate this. So I'm going to take us back, and then I'm going to play this little foppery on the way out for us. And I'm going to say, everybody, it's a dance party. That's what I promised, right? So you guys, thank you so much in the chat. Thank you for hanging in there. I'm sorry I'm, late today. We went a little bit long, but this is special. So let's just roll with it. So I'm going to take you guys off. And
thanks, Infernal and Invernal.
Vernal and Invernal. It's like thing one and thing two. And we're even dressed alike. By the way, BUFON merchandise is available in the Rebellious Ufology merch store. I will be attaching that to the video. Details below. So love you guys. I'm gonna put you backstage. Paul, God bless you. I'll see you in a minute. And love you guys. Thank you so much. Wasn't that awesome? I had such a good time. Hopefully you did too. So I'm gonna kick us off. And I just wanted to say thank you for dropping by on this beautiful Saturday. And love each other, be kind, and stay mindful. Peace.
Uphill walk, it's a trail to blaze. It's not accepting defeat, no matter motivated by just financial high. Understanding our plan, knowing where we go from here, it's my soul in control, and its pull is so strong. Time to turn, it's a road to roll, but here's that invitation to a little more. There's more to us than meets the eye. Understanding our plan, knowing where we go from here, it's my soul in control, and its pull is so strong. Understanding our plan, knowing where we go from here, it's my